Hello there. Welcome to Living Well Connections. Hi, Frida. So great that you commented so we know we're live. This is Robin Thomas with Living Well Connections. And today I have Melissa Turner here for us to learn more about what she's doing, some fabulous things she's doing within holistic and integrative wellness. Let me tell you a little bit about Melissa first. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Dr. Melissa Turner graduated from Meredith College in 2008 with a Bachelor of Science in Biology and Campbell University in 2013 with a Doctor of Pharmacy degree.
Mhm.
After graduating, she began working as a staff pharmacist with CVS. And during over 8 years, she filled thousands of prescriptions, but saw that people weren't really getting the help they needed. She left CVS in May 2021 to start her own business. And in September 2021, she launched Tarheel PGx Consulting to combine
Mhm.
her faith and the science of genetic testing for medications and nutrition.
Mhm.
Her goal is to help people optimize their physical, mental, and spiritual well being.
Yes.
Again, welcome. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to have this conversation with you today.
Me too. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share a little bit more about what I do.
I'd first like to ask. Um, I see that you said you were filling thousands of prescriptions, but did you
Mhm.
have in mind, or are there any other reasons to move to switch your direction into more holistic and more integrative approach?
Yes. Well, it was a combination of different things, both personally and professionally, that led me to start my own business. Definitely going into pharmacy school, I thought I was going to work in an independent pharmacy. I really had liked that experience in the past and liked being able to talk to patients and help them and really get to know them. But I quickly realized that when you're working in retail, it is go, 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 and trying to get things done as fast as humanly possible. And I didn't realize that everything that we did was tracked and measured and counted. And yes, I was filling lots of prescriptions and the people needed them, but there were so many times when I saw patients coming back a week or 2 weeks or a month later because the prescription I filled before, it didn't work, or it caused some sort of adverse effect, or it didn't mix with another medication. And people were saying, I'm tired of coming to the pharmacy. I'm tired of going to the doctor. And there were even patients who tried multiple things. And when it didn't work, they just gave up on everything. They stopped taking all of their medications,
Oh,
which was concerning because we definitely
mhm.
need medications. And so I was like, what is going on? Why is this not working? And people would say, well, my neighbor takes this exact medicine and it worked for them, or it didn't cause this side effect. Why did it happen to me? And I'm like, I don't know. And so there were a lot of unknowns, and I was like, there's got to be something better. And in that environment, it was just working as fast as you can and working for 8, 10, 12, even 14 hours at one point. And I was just exhausted, mentally and physically exhausted. And I knew at there had to be a better way. How can I actually help people? Medications are good and they have their place, but what else can I do? How can I help them maybe prevent these things from happening so they don't need the medications? I know the interactions that can happen, the adverse effects that can come, but are there things that we can be doing to prevent the medicines from being even needed? And so that's one of the reasons why I left, was to actually help people, not just keep pushing medicines out.
I love that because what happens so many times, and it happened with my son,
Mhm.
is you get one doctor looking at one part of your body
Right.
or one situation, and they give a
Mhm.
medication, and then you go to a different doctor, and
Yeah.
they do look and see that you're having, but they don't really have the intense knowledge of how
Mhm.
these medications can interact.
Right.
And then you end up being in your 80s, 70s, and 80s, and you carry this bag full of
Yes.
20 different medications.
Yes.
I
Yes.
see it over and over again.
Yeah.
And there's got to be, you're right, there's got to be a better way. And I'm so
Mhm.
thrilled that you decided to start start your business where
Yes.
you have time to consult with people. You and explain and then actually look at what they're taking
Right.
and have the knowledge to be able to explain. And then you also add another piece of the puzzle, which I
Mhm.
find fascinating. You really are working with genetic testing.
Yes.
And yeah, and first of all, I only knew the genetic testing for general health things, but tell us a little bit more
Mhm.
about what the genetic testing you do can help
Yeah,
people.
so we're probably all familiar with genetic tests for maybe cancer or some other diseases, but there is genetic testing for your medications and your nutrition. So PGX, in the name of my business, is short for pharmacogenomics. So it's looking at your genetics and how it affects the medications that you take. And I've worked with over 50 people up to this point, and there are some patients who get their results back, and there are medications that they are taking that are not appropriate for them, or they're taking the wrong dose. They may be taking too little, or they may be taking too much. And then, based on that information, we can let the doctor know, hey, this is not appropriate for this patient, and this is why. And then also, the test is something you get done once, and unless your DNA changes, which is probably not, you don't have to do it again, but you get a lifetime of information. And since you never know what you may be diagnosed with in the future, what you're going to need from now until the day that you pass away, why not have as much information as possible so we don't have to do that trial and error like I saw so often happen. And so that's one piece, and that's very important. But as I mentioned, are there things that we can do nutrition wise, health wise, to prevent maybe the diabetes and the blood pressure and the cholesterol? So that's where the other genetic testing comes in that I do, and that's for your nutrition and your wellness. And the company that I work with, we look at 9 different areas. So
Mhm.
vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s. So how does your body, based on your genetics, absorb those, transport them throughout your body, and utilize them? Because if you're not able to utilize them, then it's not doing you any good. We also
Right.
look at detoxification. So, how does your body metabolize estrogen and caffeine? We also look at energy and fitness. So, are you more prone to injury when you exercise based on your DNA? That's something to know. And we can then take the necessary steps to prevent that. We also look at cardiovascular health, immune health, your GI health, cognitive health, and memory. Um, 9 different areas. So once we get all that information back, we can see, are there foods that you should avoid eating or add to your diet or decrease? Maybe you can have them, but maybe not so much. Are there certain exercises you should or shouldn't do? What about your sun exposure, your environmental exposures? Looking at all of that to give you the best plan to help you and what your body actually needs, so that you're not eating a certain food that could be harmful. You can know that ahead of time. So we get those diet, the lifestyle, and then the supplement recommendations if you need them.
I really didn't realize the huge scope of this genetic testing.
Yeah.
It's a lot more. I know genetic testing and have had done testing that's looking at some snips of
Yeah.
genetic snips and looking at
Right.
lifestyle. And one of the greatest things about even just that is you have something definitive that tells you why you
Right.
should eat this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And people are individuals too, so sometimes food sensitivities happen. Does
Yeah.
this pick up food sensitivities, or is it kind of a reason why a
Not
food doesn't
this.
doesn't agree with you?
Yeah, so for the nutrition test, it's not going to come back and say you're going to have an allergic reaction to this. It is going to say these are the foods that you should increase in your diet, decrease, avoid, or add to your diet. Now, there are other tests out there that do the food sensitivities, but
Yeah.
that's not what I do. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know
Mhm.
because I know my family's had some food sensitivity testing done, and
Mhm.
it is a different kind of test. But I was wondering, gosh, we get it all in one. But
Yeah.
honestly, in practical measures,
Mhm.
you end up not totally avoiding that food, but you do know that you need to eat a lot less of it.
Right, right. Yeah. So the report will show where we need to consider action. So those diet, lifestyle, or supplements that you need. But then there also may be areas where you have a genetic advantage, where you have an enhanced benefit. especially in the exercise area. I see that a lot. So it's, everybody knows we should exercise, and we should do it for 30 minutes, 5 days a week at least. We all know that. We've heard it over and over, but maybe based on your genetics, you have an advantage in certain areas. So that gives you the motivation. Hey, don't just do this because that's what everyone says to do, but genetically speaking, you're going to see greater benefits. So hopefully that will give you the motivation to do that. So you can.
That's great. Can it tell?
Benefit? Yep.
Can it tell whether I found out over the years what kind of exercise worked best for me. And I have found out that some of the really intense exercise kind of backfires. I get under stress mode, and then I start gaining weight around my belly, kind of stress, cortisol kind of weight.
Yes.
So this can tell, like, maybe something more like, I like hiking.
Right.
Because I'm getting also the for me, spiritual, and also the mental well-being of being out in nature. And I do much better job with that kind of thing than like, what is the name of the one? It's like one super popped up thing in the gym.
Well,
we have some questions coming in. Well, first of all, someone nameless said, great conversation. Everyone should have their PGx and NGX done for proactive health.
Yes. Proactive. Yeah. And I've had that. I've worked, as I said, with over 50 patients. Some have been on 2 or 3 medications. There was someone who was on, by the time you looked at prescription and over the counter, over 20 medications. But then I've also had people who are taking no medications, but their parents were on a bunch of medications, had different health conditions, and they thought, why not go ahead and get this done now? Because that might happen. There's genetically, we can't change our DNA. So there are things that may come, even doing our best. So I want to be ready. I want to be prepared. I want to know what I should or shouldn't take. So yes, I've helped a wide range of people, but yes, let's be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And Frida asked, she's when we were talking about the exercise, she was wondering what kind of tests, what's kind of result you get in the testing to tell you how you should exercise.
Yeah. Okay. So for the exercise or the energy and fitness section, it looks at strength and power, endurance, that tendon and ligament injury, which I mentioned, your endurance potential, aerobic capacity, exercise related fatigue, body fat and exercise, muscle soreness, and glucose response to exercise. So once we get your report back, in the exercise section, it'll say things like avoid the exercises where you have to have like short, quick, forceful movements. That's something maybe you should avoid. Uphill running, the jump training, those quick, forceful movements you may need to avoid. So those are the different types of things that it can talk about.
And this is a genetic test, or is this a different kind of test?
Now that's one of the things you learn in the
genetic test.
Genomic test.
Okay, wonderful. Another thing I'm very interested in, because I love the fact that it's all personalized. So you're not saying this general, everybody should do this and that. You're really looking at their genetic testing and making it personalized for them, which is fabulous. You're also very interested in mental health.
Yes.
And I'd like to know more about how are you approaching how you're helping people with their mental health?
Okay. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I worked at CVS for almost 8 years. And during that time, it was Friday, November 30th, 2018. And I went into work early, like I always did. And I was trying to get everything ready. And so when we opened the gates, we were ready to go. And I got a phone call, and it was someone from my mom's work. And she had just gotten a phone call letting my mom know that my sister had been killed. And she was killed by another family member. And so I went back to work a week later, and I pushed through. But there were many times where after that, I broke down and cried and had panic attacks. And I just wasn't taking care of myself. And so I worked every other weekend, so I couldn't go to church like I wanted to. And so my faith was not where it needed to be. So leaving and starting my own business, setting my own schedule really helped me in that area. And for a while now, I've been feeling God calling me to bring my faith into my business, and I've resisted. I said, no, nobody wants to hear about that. That's two different things. But I've come to realize that I can't ignore that, and I want to help people. And so the last few years, my mental health journey has been up and down, and I've had good days and bad. And then almost 2 years to the day after my sister died, I was at CVS again on a Friday, and my husband came in and told me that my dad had died. So I've been through a lot, and so I know what it's like to struggle with stress, with anxiety, with depression. I've had suicidal thoughts after my sister died. I didn't want to keep living. I didn't see the point in it. But through prayer, through going to church, through Bible study, through my devotion time each day, I've really grown a lot. And so I want to help people who are struggling as well. And so I have a couple of different packages that people can go through, and I call them my mental health packages. So you still have the option for the genetic testing, for the medications and the nutrition, because sometimes medications are necessary and needed. But what other foods, how can we optimize that? But then also the faith piece. I think the physical, the mental, the nutritional, spiritual health, it all goes together. I don't want to just treat you with the medicines. I want to take care of you as a whole person, because that's who God has made us to be. We are not just one piece. We are a whole person, and there's many different parts to us. And so I have different sessions that walk through God's word, and there are questions to answer both about the passage and then how does it relate to you. And then I've also developed a prayer that goes along with each lesson that you can use, and then also a daily challenge. So it's great to read God's word and study it, but also want you to put it into action. What are you going to do with what you learned that day? And so there is an anxiety focus and then a depression focus.
That is so important. And putting it into practice is something I think when one is depressed or over anxious, that's hard to put these things into practice. So to have that, I don't know if I want to call it accountability, but at least a challenge, just a set. Okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Just one simple thing you can do today. It may be something you think about. It may be an actual action that you take. And then at the end of the week's lessons, what was difficult for you? What was easy for you? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about God? What is different this week now that you've put these things into practice? So my goal is to walk along this journey with you. So with the mental health packages, it's either 3 months or 6 months. So it's not just a one-time thing. I want to help you. I want to be there for you, be that support, because I know what it's like to be alone and to feel like nobody else understands what you're going through. I didn't even share with my husband about my suicidal thoughts until just a few weeks ago, even though that was years ago. I felt alone, even though he's a wonderful husband. And he's my best friend. Sometimes things are difficult to talk with the people you're close to. So maybe you need someone like myself who is a third party, who is removed, and someone that you can open up to.
But what you have to offer also is the fact that there's that spiritual, emotional part. But we all know that there's a lot of what we eat can help us or can hinder that growth. And we found that out. And also medications, that in particular, the medications, the psychotropic medications they use for these issues, we've seen a wide range. My son had major panic attacks and anxiety after his brain injury, and he some of the drugs they put him on just went backwards. It just made everything worse. Where they had side effects that were just horrendous. Basically, he would just stay in bed all day because of the medication. So when you can combine all these things inclusive, that really gets to the heart and soul of it. Of health.
I want to take care of you as a whole person.
Yeah, and if you're not, mentally feeling well mentally, of course, you're not feeling like doing the extra steps to eat
Right.
right.
Right. Or the
And
exercise. I
or
also
yeah,
address sleep. That's very important for our physical health, our mental health as well. So if that's something that you're struggling with, I have tips and tricks that I can share with you to help you. I also have a journal component to all of my patients, whether you do just one testing or one of the mental health packages, so that you can, write down how things are going for you. And we like to think that we'll remember everything, but we have crazy busy lives and we're always inundated with social media and emails. And so it's just a way for you to keep track of how you're doing. And then when you go to your provider, you think you'll remember that day that was so bad. And you're like, wait, when did that happen? But if you put it in your journal, then you can keep up with it. Yeah.
that is the hardest thing to do, is to remember when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, what days were better. Oh, or what day,
Right.
you might remember it in general.
Yes. Yes.
Journaling is fabulous. Journaling is
Yep.
a wonderful way to do it. So, yes, so this is fabulous. You really can't rely, as you say, and I see it on your website a lot, we can't rely on medications alone.
Mhm.
There's no magic pill that fixes everything.
I wish there was. I would be a very rich woman if I could find
A
it.
magic pill. Well,
Yeah.
I used to work in dialysis,
Uh-huh.
and I was doing research on the dialysis patients, and I talked
Mhm.
to them, and they all wanted to have that magic pill. They said, if I just didn't
Yeah.
have to do this, if I just had a magic pill that you could give me, and everything would be okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's everywhere. I think social media has ruined us a little bit. We want that instant gratification, that quick fix,
Mhm.
and there's no such thing as a quick fix. It's going to take time. It's going to take you being intentional and taking those steps. And so, what I do is I do a preliminary, I guess, phone call with everyone before I begin working with them to make sure that we're a good fit, that you know what I expect of you and you know what to expect from me and what this journey and this process is going to look like. And so it's definitely not, that quick fix. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort and making changes. So I want to make sure that you're ready to make those changes.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you, what do you do when somebody wants to work with you? So you do have a consultation to
Yes.
really make sure that you're on the same page, that you and your client are on the
Right.
same.
Right. Yep. And then based on, I have a set of questions that I ask you to figure out where you are, what do you need help with, and then if it's something that I can help you with, then I'll share what I do and how I can help you. If it's not something that I can help you with, then I will find someone who can help you.
Well, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
those of you watching, um, if you are not already in Living Well Connections, this is kind of what we do. Living Well Connections is it's a Facebook group. It's
Mhm.
free to join, and it is for anyone interested in topics like this and anyone who wants support. I mean, one of the things that really helps is having a community of support around you. And this is a wonderfully supportive community. If you've never heard of it, just search for Living Well Connections in Facebook groups, and you can join us. We'd be happy to have you join us. Here in Living Well Connections, we're going to have a lot more information from Melissa, from Dr. Turner. She's going to be posting a lot of follow-up information, what we've talked about today. And then we're going to have a Q&A on Thursday at 1.
Mhm.
So if you want to know more about what she's doing, have questions about what she's doing, please join us. You can submit your Q&A questions in Living Well Connections, and we will have that at Thursday this week at 1 p.m. And I just look forward to this week. It's going to be great. I'm
Yeah,
very
thank
excited.
you.
This is part my interest even more in what you're doing, and I'm just so thrilled to have you join us this week. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Melissa.
Thank you. And I'll see you on Thursday.
Yes, take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.